Hey everyone, this is Ryan from Aethix Fitness, and you are listening to Season 2 of the Aethix Approach podcast, the podcast where we highlight inspirational vegan athletes and what they do to absolutely kill it on a plant-based diet. If you haven't already, it would really help out if you subscribed to, liked, commented, and or shared any of the content I'm producing, including this podcast, Aethix Coaching Services, articles and training programs available on aethixfitness.com, videos on YouTube, and more. Links for those will be in the description, and I truly appreciate everyone listening for all of the continued love and support. In today's episode, I speak with LEAH DECESARE, a 47 kg or 103 pound weight class powerlifter who's competed at the Arnold and in several national powerlifting meets with great success. LEAH's been vegan for well over 15 years and built all of her incredible strength and muscle on a fully plant-based diet. In competition, LEAH's hit a 275.5 pound squat, a 176.3 pound bench press, and a 308.6 pound deadlift at only 103 pounds body weight, giving her a DOT score of 448.28, which is incredible. LEAH has always had an interesting approach to nutrition, especially for an elite powerlifter of her status. She's always leaned towards a more lax approach that's more intuitive with nutrition and has never really been much for tracking calories or macros, and I found this topic to be very interesting to talk about with her, and it really highlights the importance of diet sustainability, I think, as well as other factors that may be more influential for building strength and muscle. We also got into the details of LEAH's training history, what has worked well for her to skyrocket her numbers, her reasons for going vegan, and much more. You can find her on Instagram at LeahRayX, that's LEAHRAYEX, all one word. Thanks again to LEAH for taking the time to come onto the podcast, and I really hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed our chat. All right, LEAH, first of all, thanks for coming on to
Thank you for having me.
podcast. Yeah. So do you want to do a quick introduction about, like, first of all, I guess you don't really powerlift anymore, first of all, right?
Not anymore. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess let's touch on, first of all, like, kind of what got you into like lifting and powerlifting in the first place, because I want to talk about that first, and then we can kind of segue into like other things you do now, and like I want to definitely touch on your like your specific approach to diet and everything, and what got you into
Yeah, sure. Self-important people will call it intuitive eating. I call it, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and I don't really care.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Let's touch on like one thing at a time. So let's
Yeah,
start
sure.
with I know it like someone's gonna overlap, but let's start with like what drew you into fitness in the first place?
Yeah. So I guess if I needed to go way back, growing up and still am, I was a really big pro wrestling fan, and I think honestly seeing China for the first time on my TV like blew my head open. Hopefully, most people listening to this know who she is, but if you don't, she was just this like stacked, huge, like super muscular woman, and you did not see that in mainstream media at all. And I was always kind of like a tomboy, and the only other, badass woman that was on TV at the time was like Buffy, which, no offense to anybody who looks like Buffy, but to me, I was like, she looks like the girls who make fun of me in school. I couldn't relate to her at all. So I saw China and I was like, shit, that's what I want to be. She's like so great. She can lift men over her head. She can do like, no one could ever fuck with her. And I wanted to become unfuckwithable. So that kind of planted the seed in my head when I was a kid. And then in high school, whenever we were brought to the weight room, I actually did lift the free weights. Like none of the other girls did, but I would be like in the corner, just kind of like quietly doing really shitty curls and hoping it would do something. And we had a ladies 100 club list on the wall. I have no idea why. I was like, who else would be on this? But what that meant was if you were a girl and you could bench 100 pounds, your name would get put on this wall. And I was like, I want to get on that wall. And I don't know how the fuck I did it, dude, but I got on this bench and I was just like put 100 pounds on it. And I weighed like 100 pounds at the time. And
Uh-huh.
he, like, this kid spotted me, and I know that I was struggling, but I benched 100 pounds cold. I couldn't believe it. And that kind of put it in my
Wait, wait,
head
wait,
too,
wait,
like,
wait, wait.
yeah, I know that
You
sounds
fucking benched
ridiculous.
100
I
pounds
know
in high
that sounds
school.
ridiculous. I need to say this first. I used to be a competitive martial artist, and I was drilled to the
Oh.
ground. So I had a strong foundation for strength, period.
Hmm.
But yeah, so when that happened, I was like, oh, like I want to do this. But I forgot about it. Fast forward to when I was 22, 23. Um,
Hmm.
I was working at a running shoe store at the time, and my coworker had started powerlifting, and she was posting pictures on her social media of her lifting weights. And I was just like, I always wanted to do this. Where do you do this? Like, I didn't really know. Um, and she was just like, oh, I go to this powerlifting gym in Gowanus. You should come with me. So I went. I'm a massage therapist, and the coach
Hmm.
there was like, I want to meet a massage therapist to send my lifters to. And I was like, perfect, yeah, let's meet. So I go there, we talk shop, and then he's like, well, while you're here, do you want me to teach you how to squat? And I'm like, yeah, for sure. So we did that, and then that gym owner and I decided to do kind of like a work trade, and I wound up training there, and that's how I got started. And I didn't want to compete at all. We can get into that later, but yeah, I mean
Hmm.
that was kind of how I first really got started into powerlifting. That was 2012. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So you just started squatting when you were like 18-ish? Is that right?
No, I
Or
20.
20-ish?
That's nice of you. No, 2012. I was like 23.
Oh, okay. No, I
Yeah.
was gonna say either way. I mean, that's still you kind of started I guess a little late with squats and stuff compared to if you were
Yeah.
benching in high school and everything,
Not
right?
really. I mean, again, that was like a one and done kind of like I benched that weight once and I was like, hell yeah,
Hmm.
I'm strong. And like I didn't keep up with it. And
Uh-huh.
but that was like just like giving you some background little seedlings of what brought me to where I eventually wound up in my 20s.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you after your kind of brief stint with
Mhm.
wanting to bench 100 pounds in high school, and then did you did you train the squat at all at the massage? Was it a massage therapist? You said
No, it was
was.
just a so I'm a massage therapist. The
Oh,
place where I
okay.
went was just a powerlifting gym, and I just went there to, meet the people who ran it, hopefully be, a go-to therapist for their lifters, and
Oh, I
but
see.
then I kind of got
Okay.
roped into doing it, into lifting over there.
Is that what got you? Have you were you just kind of consistently training after that?
Yeah. Um,
You were
he
okay.
pretty much enabled me because we wound up working out some kind of a work trade. So I got to train there, financially for free, which was
Hmm.
great. And especially at the time, I mean, 23, I would do anything if it was free. But I especially wanted
Yeah.
to lift. I was like, yeah,
Uh,
this like it felt right to me when I saw my friend posting pictures of it. I was like, that's what I wanted to do, and I completely forgot about it. So,
mhm.
yeah.
Okay, so from there, you started training consistently at the gym
Hmm.
while also working,
Yeah.
basically.
Hmm.
Okay. How did it go in terms of training and everything there? Did you get roped into competitions right from there?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I took to powerlifting really quickly.
Hmm.
I mean, you could say that I'm built for it or whatever. I'm 5 feet tall. I have, short legs and and
Uh-huh.
I don't know, but yeah. So I took to it pretty quickly. My linear progression was really sharp,
Hmm.
and we. I mean, at the time, USA Powerlifting was small. I mean,
It
I don't
was,
think that,
yeah.
yeah, I don't think that there were even 1,000 women in it in the whole nation at the time. So, our gym really wanted to have like a big, strong presence, and they were like, you should just sign up, you should just compete. And I was like, no, I don't know, I don't want to be competitive. But also, part of me kind of felt like maybe I owed it to them to represent them because they were letting me train there. And I'm just
Hmm.
like, why the fuck don't I just do it? Like, who cares? But
Hmm.
I was definitely kind of hesitant to go down a path of like, I don't know, athletes are kind of nuts, man. And I was like, do I want to
Yeah,
go?
100%.
And I knew that. And I was just like, do I want to get sucked into this kind of like weird world where I'm like obsessing over something like this?
Mm-hmm.
And I told myself I'm not competitive, which is bullshit. I'm completely
Mm-hmm.
competitive. But, at the time that I thought that maybe I had grown out of that. So
Yeah.
my first competition that I did was in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, it was in this little, I want to say, yeah, this little room. I'm not sure exactly what the establishment was, but it was like toddlers and tiaras, like if you competed, you got a medal because there were like,
Okay, yeah.
how many of us, you know what I mean? Like maybe 15
Yeah.
women total. Um,
Uh-huh.
so I won, but
Okay.
what is that to say? I think I had one other one other woman who I was competing up against, and
Uh-huh.
which, yeah, I mean, even then at my weight class, because I competed as a 47 kilo, is like,
Uh-huh.
you know, you're lucky if at a local meet you have one other person, or two is like, wow.
So
So
that's like 114 pounds? Is that
one
right? Or
47 is 100. Well, okay, 47 is 103.6 pounds.
oh my God, you were
Yeah, yeah,
tiny.
I know, I
5 feet tall
know.
and 103
Three,
pounds?
yeah. And
104?
when I first started, the weight class was originally 48 kilos, and it is
Uh-huh.
again. But there was a period of time, which was the bulk of my competing career, where I guess they were trying to appeal to the Olympics, so they started
Mm-hmm.
taking on Olympic weight classes. So they knocked it down to 47, and I had a freak out about that kilo. I was like, I can't lose any weight, but then
Yeah.
I learned how. So
So what were your numbers for that first competition? How long were you
that
training for
first
at that
one,
point?
um,
Yeah, yeah.
I can look it up actually, but
Oh, cool. Okay.
I have to look up my misspelled name. um,
Is that openpowerlifting.com or whatever it is?
Open Powerlifting is a resource, but USAPL has their own, which is
Their own
just
database?
usapl.liftingdatabase.com. Yeah. Okay, so
Mhm.
let's see. What were my numbers on this? So I weighed, because the weight class at the time was 48, I weighed 47.5 kilos. So, like, I don't know, 104, 105.
Mhm.
My squat was 80 kilos, bench was 50, and my deadlift was 77.5. So that was my first one. That was in June of
Mhm.
2013. So I had
Uh-huh.
been training for about, I started really consistently training the previous October. So maybe that's like 8 months of training.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, you
Yeah.
were very much still making like linear progression
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
progress, I'm
This was
sure.
all about just doing the first one, learning how it goes, getting the first meet jitters out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I don't know, the way that they did it was so chaotic. They would brief you on rules like in the warm up room, and you'd kind of be like, oh my God, do I have to be warming up right now? And, I
Mhm.
mean, I failed lifts just because I didn't know certain things that I was supposed to do. Like in the deadlift specifically, I didn't realize that you were supposed to roll your shoulders back. So I'm like
Okay.
staring at the head ref being like, give me the down command, please. And he's
Uh-huh.
looking at me like, lock out this deadlift. And I'm like, I don't know what you want from me, man. I'm holding a lot of weight in my hands. But that's,
That
you
was
learn.
I think it happens for almost everybody from my experience.
Oh yeah,
I've only done one powerlifting meet ever, and
really?
even with a coach,
Hmm.
I got flagged for not having my feet on the ground completely for the bench press. Like my
Yeah,
heels were just slightly off because I was wearing
yeah.
like old ass Converses,
Hmm.
and like
Hmm.
they were just worn down on the back, and like literally, I don't think I could even push my heel down all the way on them.
Yeah. Was it in USAPL or?
Dude, I honestly don't even know like what it was. It was Squat and Science
Yeah. Hmm.
gym.
Hmm.
It was whatever competition they had through them. I
It was
don't even know
probably
what
USAPL, I think.
it
Yeah, I
was
don't
that
think that they
dude
did USPS stuff.
yeah, it was that guy man, who's that announcer like Gino or something?
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely USAPL.
Okay, yeah, he
The
was
like
there.
seven
Yeah.
foot tall pirate. Yeah.
Yeah, the Pirates of the Caribbean looking ass dude.
Yeah, yeah, he's hard
Yeah,
to
that was
forget.
but yeah, my buddy also competed for the first time there, and he's like a strong guy, but he got flagged every single time for just like putting the deadlift down before, the signal or
Yeah.
something, or I don't even know, just racking the weight before they gave him the signal for squat and stuff like that, or
Mm-hmm.
bench. It was like everything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's why people will ask me like, "When do you think I'm ready to compete?" I'm like, "Just do it." You know,
Hmm.
it'll cost you like $50 to do. Just pick somewhere local, get it out of the way because honestly, you're gonna make a dumb mistake. Don't wait
Yeah.
until you feel like, "Oh, I'm gonna really show out at this competition."
Yeah.
Like just get it out of the way. Learn some stuff the hard way because you're gonna, and make your second one count. You know.
Yeah, from my experience for this little meet too, it was like a bunch of people just doing their first meet, or even maybe they did several, but they weren't competitive at all. But it's still
Hmm.
just it's a good environment, and everyone was just stoked to be there because it was everyone from a gym.
Hmm.
So if they hit PRs on their own, not even competitive at all, but if they just hit a PR on their own, like all their gym buddies would be super stoked about it. It was fun.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, totally. I actually always kind of liked smaller competitive atmospheres versus like the big stage anyway. But maybe because
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, my friends are here, it's local, so
Mhm.
I hear that.
So let's talk about you getting to the bigger stages, I
Yeah,
guess.
sure.
What was your training like after that, and kind of like how many competitions did you do afterwards? Where did you go to nationals and stuff? Did you
Oh yeah, yeah.
go? I don't know.
So I
Okay.
did the first time I did nationals was 2015 in Scranton,
Hmm.
Pennsylvania. Um so
Oh, good old Scranton.
yes, the Electric City. Tried not to say that, but you can't. But yeah, no. It. So I did that. That was 2015, and then I did take some time off. I wound up leaving the gym that I had started at, and I was kind of a fish out of water from there.
Hmm.
And yeah, I shifted my focus away from competing because I was like, I just need to find somewhere, and I don't have a coach anymore, so I need to figure out. I mean, I don't have a coach anymore. The programming that I did at the first gym was like communal coaching, so I didn't have
Hmm.
specific coaching. But even that, I mean, I was still reliant on that, and I didn't even have that anymore. So I was like, okay,
Hmm.
I don't really know what's happening. I just need to kind of find a place, and finding a place where you can powerlift is actually pretty hard.
Hmm.
Especially a place that'll let you deadlift. Some places are pretty weird about that, especially like older buildings here
The
in New York
commercial
City. Yeah,
gyms.
yeah,
Oh my god. Oh
yeah.
my god. I feel like talking about gyms in New York City is a whole other topic in itself.
I've had people be
God,
like, "Hey, I'm visiting. I'm staying in Manhattan. Where can I lift in Manhattan?" I'm like, "Nowhere. Manhattan,
literally,
nowhere."
yeah, literally nowhere, especially for powerlifting. But
Yeah.
like, my god, like the gyms you can go to, if you're
Hmm.
not dropping like 20 plus bucks on a
Yeah.
day pass at the very least,
Yeah.
like I don't even know. And also like every gym there is just packed, and it's just
Hmm.
like a bunch of bougie ass motherfuckers like going there to do hot yoga and stuff,
I know. I
like
know.
Equinox, David Barton gym or whatever. Like,
David
you know what
Barton,
I'm talking about?
R.I.P. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you know what happened with
Oh,
that,
then
right?
no, I don't.
David
They're
Barton
gone.
Gym? Yeah, I mean, that was
No.
like, I had a friend of mine who was coaching there, and one day they just shuttered all their doors, and like nobody could get in. Members had all their stuff in the lockers, and it was like a
Oh my
whole chaotic
god.
mess. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't give you like a detailed rundown of it, but it was like just one of those shady, like, they were selling a lot of, because it was right before the new year, and they were selling a bunch
Hmm.
of memberships for holiday gifts and also New Year's resolution people, and then they just closed the doors, and that was the end of that.
I hope that people got their stuff back at least.
I
That's
think they
insane.
eventually did, but it was, from what I understand, it was a hassle. I actually
Oh
recommend
my
that
god.
people just go to CrossFit boxes, honestly, to lift if they, don't know where else to go. I feel like,
That sounds like a good idea, but every time that I've been traveling and like
hmm
I see a CrossFit place, I'm like, okay, they got barbells and stuff at
hmm
least. I don't know. It's always like, oh, we got classes, and
yeah.
it's never like open gym. I don't know if you just call and they'll let you in or something, or
It
what's
depends.
your
Obviously,
experience
it's
with that?
gonna depend because CrossFit is not a franchise, although some people think that it is. It's very kind of like, oh, they just have rights to the intellectual property and the name CrossFit. After that, you can run your
Hmm.
gym however the heck you want. So it's going to depend
Hmm.
gym to gym.
Hmm.
But they'll let you slam weights, and they usually have what you need.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and they're pretty prolific. You can usually find a CrossFit gym just about anywhere. So that's usually my recommendation when people are looking for somewhere to go.
Right.
Yeah.
So we kind of went off on a tangent there, but
Yeah.
did you find a gym where you could powerlift that was not the same one that you were at?
Yeah, yeah. So
Like,
I was
okay,
lifting at just like a Synergy for a little while, and then I
mhm.
found Richie's gym. Where did you live in Brooklyn?
Richie's,
Where did you live over by
Bushwick.
Rich? Okay, did you ever go to Richie's?
No, I was always around there, and I was like, hey, I should
Uh-huh.
stop in one day, and then it closed like at the very beginning of
Break
COVID lockdowns, right?
my heart to hear that because that I mean
Did
that
he?
place
Did
was
he?
a dump, but I loved it so much. They had like
SNS.
mhm.
They bought a bunch of stuff from there, I think, didn't
Why?
they?
All their stuff is so fucked up. But
It was
what I
either Richie's or wasn't there like French's or something too? Am
Frenchie's.
I
Okay,
crazy?
so I originally wanted to go to Frenchie's. Frenchie's was, I mean, there was like a little documentary on Frenchie. I was just like, I fell in love with him. He's just like,
Yeah.
this like, like squat Puerto Rican dude with like a little braided little goatee
Goatee.
beard, and but his gym was on the second floor. And he told me that I couldn't deadlift there, so I couldn't go there.
Oh.
But I went to Richie's. So Richie's, for anyone who is not familiar with it, was like this old school bodybuilding gym that had like
Hmm.
crappy murals of Arnold and like Lou and everyone on the walls. With the bars were all bent. There were signs on the
Yeah.
walls that said no boots on the treadmills because everyone was wearing their Timbs on the treadmills. And I'd go in
Yo,
there,
that's
and
so New York.
it is, and I would
That's
go
so
in
New York.
there, and I was like, one of what, three women who ever went there, and the only white one, and like my nickname there, I'd walk in and they'd be like, "It's super strong, Amy Winehouse," and I was just like, "Okay, that's kind of cute."
That's funny.
But yeah, so I lived there for a while, and I actually trained. I did a lot of my training there. Because I was living over in Bed-Stuy, not too far, and the price was unbeatable. I think it was like $25 a month.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I
Yeah,
wound up
I
there.
never got to go,
Oh,
but okay,
that's such
yeah.
a shame.
So yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were you saying there?
I was saying that's such a shame. It was just such a real a place that's kind of burned in my brain in a good way.
Yeah, that's like there's never any gyms like that anymore in New
Hmm.
York.
Hmm.
I went to a gym called Absolute Power. Ever hear about that one?
No.
That's over on like Grand Street in like what they'd probably call East Bushwick now, or East Williamsburg.
Okay. Yeah. Absolute
Um,
power. I don't think so. Yeah.
like off the Graham Avenue stop off
Mhm.
the L
Mhm.
train.
Yeah.
Um, they weren't bad. They got kind of more and more crowded over the years,
Yeah.
but you could always deadlift there. They had like 3 squat racks. That
Mhm.
was the height of my powerlifting
Yeah.
years, I guess.
Mhm.
But then I switched over to SNS for a little bit, and SNS is great, but then you kind of go into like they have all like the Alico stuff and like all like
Mhm.
the competition stuff. So like
Yeah.
obviously it's way more money. It's like
Mhm.
as opposed to those gyms being like 20-25 bucks for a little bit. That was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I know a lot, like a lot of gyms. I mean, once I stopped going to Richie's, I then went to there was this place called Elite Gym that was on Coney Island Avenue in Flatbush, because I was working
Okay.
over there. So I
Hmm.
started training over there, and yeah, they were like this little hole in the wall. It was like a veteran-owned place, and I mean, I feel kind of bad. I feel like I don't know how they're doing now. I think they're okay. I know that they moved a little further south, but I
Hmm.
think that all these members were like, "Yeah, you need an Ohio bar and you need calibrated plates," and they like didn't really know, so they were like, "Okay," and they bought all this stuff, and I was like, "You don't need all this stuff, man. Like, don't
Hmm.
go out of business because you got some high maintenance members here. It's like a $40 a month gym." Um,
Yeah.
so I was there for a minute, and then I wound up at CrossFit South Brooklyn, which is where I am now. Whenever I
Hmm.
do train,
Okay.
yeah. But that's where I finished out my competitive powerlifting training.
So through this time, how many competitions do you think you did?
Let's find out. Let's see. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10.
Oh,
So
okay. So
yeah.
you were pretty damn into it then.
It's funny. Time is not that much for the 8 years that I competed, but
Hmm.
I took a lot of time off, And I think it was like I kind of like floored it when I actually hired a coach, like a for real
Mm-hmm.
coach. So let's backtrack. I wasn't really sure what I was doing. And then I heard about this thing called Reactive Training Systems, which was run
Yeah.
by Mike Toucher. Yeah, you know about them.
Mm-hmm.
And they were
Yep.
basically kind of doing a test program. And if you signed up to do it, you would be given a free 12-week program.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I did. And they gave me,
Oh, I
yeah,
think I did
it
that.
was called Project Momentum, I think it was called.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I did that.
How was
Yeah.
it for you?
I didn't get any results.
Really? That
Yeah.
sucks because
Hey,
it was amazing for me. I mean, we may have had different programs. I know that they didn't give everyone the same one,
yeah.
but I don't know.
I
Yeah.
I think were you gaining weight at the time, or were you just kind of like, this kind of goes back to nutrition for a second, but
Yeah.
like you don't really pay too much attention to what you're eating for the most part, or
No,
you kind of
not
just,
really. Unless I have
so
to
you were
cut
just
weight.
lifting.
Yeah, I was just
Okay,
lifting.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, that's so funny because for me to get, I really have like trash genetics for strength. I really do.
Hmm.
So I have to actively be trying to really gain weight and really eat and have my training dialed in to actually get
Hmm.
anywhere. It sucks. And I wasn't gaining weight when I was running that program,
Yeah.
and I just got like, I did fine, but I
Hmm.
didn't get any PRs or anything. But
Oh man,
that's funny that you are,
that's
because
such a
Mike Toucher
bummer.
is like an amazing coach, and like
Yeah.
I really think that he's like at the forefront of powerlifting coaching.
Hmm.
But yeah, like there's something to be said about like the it's still the kind of a cookie cutter template, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how yours started off, but I know that in the beginning of mine and midway through mine, I had to do 6 by 10 squat, bench,
Hmm.
deadlift, which was like,
Yes, it was so much
it
volume.
was so bad. But yeah, no, I mean, my numbers went through the roof after that, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna keep doing this over and over
Yeah.
again. And I did run it a couple times, but I kind of found myself dreading it because of those days where I was like, oh man, I can't. So
So much volume. I remember that
yeah.
program was I think I hit like 13 sets of bench in one day or something. It was just insane.
Yeah. Um, that, let me think. That carried me through, what did I do on that? Oh, I remember now. Okay. That prepared me for a meet that I did in May of 2017. It was like New York State Championships. And I went through like one of the hardest things in my personal life at this
Hmm.
time. Um, and I had to test my max a couple of weeks before the competition just because I was part of the agreement of being a
Hmm.
part of this experiment. Um, but yeah, man, that program, I mean, that brought me to a meet where I got my first ever best overall female lifter award.
Hmm.
So I was a big believer in that program. So
So was this nationals at this
no,
point?
this was not. This was just this was, I think, a comeback meet for me after kind of like being lost at sea for a little while.
Yeah.
So
Like a local, just like a local meet, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah. I mean, I couldn't
Okay.
have done nationals because I hadn't done
You weren't
anything
qualified.
recently. Yeah, that would have qualified me for nationals. So I did. I
Sure.
did that, and I could have gone to nationals that year, but I didn't. I just did another small meet,
Hmm.
um, somewhat after that. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Um, so then you kept lifting after that though, and
Hmm.
then this at this point, what was that, like your fifth meet or something, or even
That was
earlier?
no, that was a little later. I would say that was maybe my like sixth or yeah, my sixth. Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you attribute a lot of your progress there to the reactive training systems
Yeah, I
program,
think that
Project
was
Momentum.
the because that was really the first time I felt like I was getting my ass kicked, you know,
Hmm. Was
and
that the first time you also stuck to a really regimented program like that?
I'm maybe the most complex one, I think. Yeah,
Okay,
I
sure.
feel like the kind of communal coaching that we got prior, it was like a lot of like 5-3-1, which is great for where
Mm.
I was in my powerlifting career. It was early, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
I know that I tried a bunch of the popular stuff before I found Project Momentum. Like I tried Smolov Jr.
Yeah.
I tried Eddie Cohn's deadlifting
Mhm.
one because my deadlift is trash and it's really hard to be a good powerlifter if you have a bad deadlift. That's like where everybody gets their total from. Not everybody,
Do you
but a
have
lot of
short
people.
arms?
Yeah, yeah, and a really long torso. So I
Mm.
really struggle to keep like a nice straight engaged back core.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I did hurt my back pretty bad deadlifting, which was
Mm.
it gave is accounts for a gap in my competitive resume also. But
Right, right.
yeah,
But at least you got the nice bench to make up for it, right?
yeah, yeah. That's my which is like great.
Yeah.
Doesn't really count for very much in terms of total, but yeah, I'd be like, you know what? I can out bench the world champion 47 lifter. I mean, she can out deadlift me by like 140 pounds, but I bench a little bit
Yeah.
more than her. So
So I'm not sure if we're jumping forward a little here, but so what were your best lifts in competition
in
overall?
competition overall,
Mm-hmm.
my squat was 275. My
Mm-hmm.
bench was 176, and my deadlift was 308.
Okay.
And then a little bit more in the gym for squat and
And
bench. Yeah,
what weight class was that?
47.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's incredible.
thank you.
That's insane. Um, yeah, you were I can only imagine you rolling into these gyms and like, loading up like 3 plates on a
Oh, are
deadlift or
you
something
kidding
for
me?
like a max out and
The comments I
yeah.
got, dude, like I've had people grab my bar and be like, "You're distracting everybody here," and I'm like, "Then work harder. What do you like? What do you want me to tell you? You know? Yeah,
Like
lots
grown
of
ass men
stairs.
doing
Yeah, of
this?
course, big time. Yeah, no, I mean, I would lots of stairs, lots of
Yeah.
comments. Uh, like,
Hmm.
what are you gonna do? I mean, that's like with anything, but it was definitely like, okay, that was
I
the one
wonder
thing.
how
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Keep going.
No, like, with like smaller kind of private and yeah, more expensive powerlifting gyms,
Mm,
that was always kind of the nice thing about those things was that I didn't really have to deal
mm,
with that. But
yeah.
when I lost to that connection, I had to kind of like throw myself to the wolves, so to speak. And
Yeah.
yeah. What were you gonna say?
So I'm really curious to hear about this. Is a bit. I didn't plan to talk about this, but I'm really
Hmm.
curious to hear now. What's your experience with like being like a small girl in a
Hmm.
commercial gym like that and actually being super strong? Like, did
Yeah.
you get? Was there like a lot of insecure guys that you interacted with or anything? I'm curious, like if you experienced anything like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like, I'd say, if I ever like needed to use something, I was kind of treated like it didn't really matter and that I could wait, Like I remember once I went to Richie's on Christmas Eve and there was a guy who was dumbbell benching on the actual bench
Hmm.
press and we had, you know, tons of flat benches where he could be doing that. And
Hmm.
I'd be waiting and I'd be like, "Hey man, like I actually have to bench press and we're closing early because it's Christmas Eve. Do you mind, you know, going to a flat bench?" And he was just like, "Oh, you think you're more important than me?" And like really got in my face about it. And I was like, "No, but you could be doing that over there. I can't do what I need to do over there." Um,
Yeah.
or at Synergy, I remember there was a guy incline benching in the cage, and I needed the cage.
Hmm.
And again, tons of incline benches at Synergy, and I was
Hmm.
just like, "Hey man, I got a squat. That's the only place where I can squat. Can you incline bench on an incline bench?" And he'd be like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I could, but I just really don't want to move." And I was just like,
Oh my god.
"Okay, so I'm just gonna stand there and stare at you really awkwardly." And so he would like rush through his sets because I was like, I mean, like, where else? I have nowhere else to be. This is the only thing I can use right
Yeah.
now. And
Yeah.
then every time I went in after that, if he was in that cage, he'd be like, "Oh, do you need to use this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, thanks." So,
Damn, that's just so rude that
yeah,
they would even I don't know. There's a lot of guys that are just can be super derogatory towards women in
yeah,
particular and I mean gym etiquette in general also, it leaves a lot to be desired, so
hmm,
that's just a shame though.
yeah. I know. Until they see you doing anything too, they kind of think that you're just sort of like messing around or don't know what you're doing. Like, I mean,
Sure.
obviously there was a lot of people, guys, prematurely saving me from a lift that I was completely capable of lifting. But, you know, they see you load up 135 on the bench and they're like, there's no fucking way she's not going to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm going to
Yeah.
rep this for like 10 reps. I don't know what you're talking about, man. But
Well, I guarantee you that's where a lot of the insecurity sets in, because a
yeah.
lot of these guys, like I see guys struggle with 135 at the bench
Yeah,
all the
totally.
time, you
But
know?
like,
Like,
of course, you know, I mean, oh yeah, I mean, one thing that you'll get a lot, not necessarily from the gym, but from men in general, is I'll tell them stuff and they'll
mhm,
be like, "Wow, you lift more than me," and I'm like, "Yeah, you don't lift. You're just a guy. I've been lifting very intensely from like years now. Of course, I lift more
mhm,
than you. Yes, I'm small, but
yeah.
you know, it's not a compliment to tell me that I lift more than you when you just like, you know, sit on the couch all
Just some
day."
average
Yeah,
ass potato chip eating
yeah.
dude.
Okay.
Damn, that's awesome though.
Mm, yeah.
Um, and then you kind of competed at nationals, and then that was
Mhm.
kind of what was the segue out of powerlifting? Like, what made you kind of want to you're kind of over it?
Yeah. So I guess before I get there, I should just quickly kind of go over stuff
Oh,
again.
sure, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I did nationals again in 2019, and then that was my ticket to the Arnold in 2020. So
Oh, you went to the Arnold?
I went
Oh,
to the
okay.
Arnold. Yeah. I went to the weird COVID Arnold. That was like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Uh-huh.
so before this, the year that I kind of made my comeback to powerlifting, I found pole dancing through,
Mm-hmm.
you know, again, I was going through something kind of hard and I decided to just do something new to learn something new and occupy my brain. And I
Mm-hmm.
did not think that I was going to love it the way that I wound up loving it.
Yeah.
But I did. And it's hard to do both. They can complement powerlifting can complement pole dancing in some ways, but they do kind of exist in opposition to one another in a lot of ways. And
In terms
certainly,
of, sorry, keep
yeah,
going.
no. Like, I mean, in terms of like in pole dancing, yes, being strong is really great.
Mm-hmm.
But you learn just how positional strength is when you are trying to hold your body against gravity. Like the strength that I have from bench press doesn't count for a whole lot in terms of like just
Mm-hmm.
using a different position. And then obviously, the more flexible you are, the better it's going to look. I am built like a 2x4 from all of the powerlifting that I've done over the years. So I've had to kind of offset that. So putting a lot of energy into flexibility training is, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of hard to do in tandem with making your muscle bellies as strong and tight as possible. um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so that was kind of what was going on in the background. Every time I had a competition that I had to prepare for, I had to stop pole dancing. And it kind of made me resent powerlifting a little bit because I kind of felt like
Mm.
pole dance was like my crush that I wanted to hang out with, and powerlifting was like my long-term partner that I like wasn't getting along with so well. Even though like I was advancing in my powerlifting career, my heart was straying. And
Mm-hmm.
so after Nationals 2019 in Chicago, right, I did the Arnold in 2020, and that was the weekend of March 7th, 8th. Um, so we weren't even sure if it was going to happen, right?
I
Because
remember that.
COVID wasn't quite here yet. Like we weren't wearing masks yet. We weren't social distancing. It was really just a big thing in
Mm-hmm.
China and Italy. But the Arnold draws like 200,000 people, you know? So they were
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, we can't have this event. There's too much international travel that it draws. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I was getting all this mixed messaging, and it was like right before we were about to do it, and I was just like, I mean, I had just cut like 15 pounds, you know, so I was hangry, and
Yeah.
I like, I was like, if this is not happening, you got to tell me right now, because I've got my Chinese food place number punched in my phone, and I am ready to like demolish some, you know, some General Tso's tofu. So please,
Yeah.
and they wound up happening. It wound up happening, but with no spectators. And then obviously everything shut down,
Mm-hmm.
and without being able to go to the gym for a while, I kind of just had a chance to sort of recalibrate and be like, what do I want to be doing I'm losing all this time. I mean, I feel like we were all kind of felt like we were losing really valuable time. I mean, I was 30
Mm-hmm.
when COVID hit, and that's like, it's a significant age, and you're just like, man, like this just seems to just keep going on and on and on.
Yeah.
Am I just going to pick up where I left off, or is there other stuff that I kind of wish maybe I had spent more of my time doing? So
Mm-hmm.
I gave myself permission to just step away from it and try to just pursue dance and music. And,
Mm-hmm.
if I felt called to doing powerlifting again, I would. I did wind up training again with my coach, Bill, for a couple of months in the latter half of 2020. But I know on New Year's Eve that year, I kind of had like a moment being like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't think it's fun for me anymore,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's hard to let go of something that you put so much of your time in for so long, especially something that, I mean, I was invited to Bench Worlds. Like I could have
Yeah,
been,
you're really good at it.
thank you. But,
I mean, obviously, yeah, going to the Arnold and like being, yeah, you're like amazing at it. So
thank
like,
you.
it makes sense that it's like something
It's
that
hard
you
to let
feel drawn
go.
to an extent, but
Yeah.
it is kind of just like after a while, it's literally just training the squat, bench, and deadlift, and it
Yeah.
it does seem to get stagnant for most people.
I think it's easy to, when you hit a certain level, let a lot of your identity get wrapped up in accomplishment. Um,
Hmm.
but I had to be honest with myself, being like, who am I doing this for? Is it for like the handful of people who give a shit about what I'm doing, or is it for me?
Yeah.
And I love being strong, and I loved powerlifting. I never want to, mitigate any of that. But
Hmm.
I knew that there was something that was more exciting to me that I wanted to, on like a core level, be spending more of my time doing, even though I'm so like not nearly as good at it.
Hmm.
And that was kind of humbling to me, be like, I'm okay with not being at the best at this. It's just a lot more fun for me right now. So,
Yeah.
again, like, you hit your 30s and you're like, yeah, I mean, I don't really have time to be doing stuff for other people. I like, not that 30 is old, but it does give you a sense of like, my time is only mine, and I just
Hmm.
need to be doing what I want to be doing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think are we the same age? I just turned 32.
Oh, you're a little bit younger than me. I'm 33. Yeah.
33. Okay.
Hmm.
We're right around the same age though.
Yeah.
Um, so I can relate in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
So I was never successful with powerlifting at all,
Hmm.
but I loved the idea of getting stronger. And then
Hmm.
obviously like, you're drawn to powerlifting usually if you like the idea of getting stronger.
Hmm.
So I never hit any great numbers. Like I think my best deadlift was like 465
Okay.
at like 100 and it's not good though, like guys who
Hmm.
are like 181 are pulling
Hmm.
like 800.
Yeah.
So like
Well, you look a
it,
lot better
it
than a lot of them. So.
that's the thing. A lot of times it's like, you kind of, I guess one thing leads to another and you find something that you like a little
Hmm.
more and it's just worth your time more. And
Yeah.
like, so I totally agree.
Hmm.
It's not really even an age thing. It's like, I don't know, you kind of get, things are stagnant and then you're like, oh, you find the appeal in something else and you want to switch over to it and pursue that. Cause life's
Hmm.
all about just, I mean, like these are just hobbies, like in the
Yeah.
end. And,
I think it's
if
easy to
it's
forget that, especially in like the age of social media. I mean, I know that's like such a tired
sure.
rant to be on, but it's true. I think a lot of people really wrap up their identity in their forward facing selves. And
Hmm.
I certainly did. And I had to kind of be like, I've never made a dime doing this. Not that that's the most important thing, but
Exactly.
you have to kind of be
Hmm.
like, I had a really bad back injury, which like kind of, I don't want to say it ruined powerlifting for me, but it definitely made it scary for the first time. And
I dealt with that too. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm. Um, and I
Did you
had to,
herniate a disc?
I never got a formal diagnosis. I definitely do feel like it was a disc issue. And I was able
Hmm.
to rehab it, but I had to kind of ask, because it was the kind of pain where you can't even have a conversation with people for like any amount of time, because your brain is just arrested by the pain. You can't focus
Hmm.
on what they're saying. All you can think about is how much pain you're in. And I had to ask
Hmm.
myself, would I be willing to go through that again for the glory of whatever I could get in powerlifting? And the answer is no. So
Yeah.
yeah.
There's something so debilitating about a back injury in
Hmm.
particular. It just it's the worst. You can't do
Yeah.
anything, and you
Hmm.
like your identity becomes it revolves around like this back injury that's so debilitating. You know,
Yeah,
it's like you feel
totally.
so limited. You feel like you
Hmm.
can't do like a squat or even bend over.
I couldn't tie
Like
my
it makes you feel like
shoes,
you're yeah. It
you
makes you feel
know?
like you're 80 years old. It's
Yeah,
just the worst.
totally. I mean, I was afraid of sneezing because it hurt so bad to sneeze.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
you know,
that's got to be a herniated disc.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, something like that.
Oh my god.
So anyway, yeah,
Yeah, not fun. So
no.
you found things you like more. So that's
Hmm.
mainly the reason why you switched away from
Yeah,
powerlifting.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't discount a return one day,
Hmm.
but I gave my 20s to powerlifting. Like,
Hmm.
let me do something else right now. And if I feel
Yeah.
called to re-enter as a masters athlete, then I will do that.
Hmm.
Um, that's kind of the cool thing about powerlifting is you kind of can do
Hmm.
it whenever.
Hmm.
It's again because I wasn't making any money off of it. It's not like I had to do it at a certain age and like look a certain way. So it can be there for me later. Yeah.
Do you feel any urge to compete still? Like, is there anything you can compete doing pole or anything? I don't know
Yeah,
exactly.
there are pole competitions. I'm not interested in competing in pole, but
Hmm.
I love performing. And I think
Hmm.
that was a big aspect of pole that really drew to me because I mean I'm kind of a ham, and like
For
I mean,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, but like
It's
that's
great.
I treated powerlifting like that too. Like any facet of it that I could treat. I mean, I had like really kind of big setups for a lot of lifts. Like I would read the live stream on at nationals, and whenever I'd come on, people would be like, "Oh, the crazy girl's here," and I'm just like, "Yeah, well, like it makes you want to watch, though, right? I mean, everyone says that
Yeah.
powerlifting is boring to watch, but if you see someone come out and like do like a war dance." You're kind of like, oh shit, what's about to happen?
Yeah. Does that come from your interest in wrestling, maybe?
Yeah, probably, right?
Do
um,
you, so I saw you post those photos. Do you do any sort of wrestling?
I'm not actually wrestling, so it's called a valet. So what
Okay.
that is in the wrestling world is I valet for this deathmatch wrestler named Casanova Valentine, and so I'm kind of like his little sidekick that comes out with him, and I might like heckle, I might like start some shit, I might like I haven't done this yet, but I might a valet might get in the ring and like hit her guy's opponent with
Hmm.
something illegal when like the ref isn't looking and like cause
Hmm.
her guy to win. That's what a valet is. So that's what I am. I'm a little shit starter.
That's
But
amazing. That sounds more fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like again, I have flirted with the idea of wrestling a lot.
Hmm.
But again, I have to kind of be honest with myself about where I am, just physically, health wise, and age wise. I'm like, am I like
Hmm.
willing to start this now,
Hmm.
work the indies for however long, maybe get discovered when I'm like, I don't know, 37, and then not. I mean, the standards are changing right now,
Hmm.
but even still, it's like. I mean, I could change my mind, Maybe this is the gateway for
Hmm.
me to do that. But I'm at the time for now. I'm just having fun with it. However
Yeah.
often he'll have me at the show. Yeah, I got to
I don't
spit
know.
Modelo into some guy's face, so that was fun.
Yeah, that was so sick. That was such a sick photo. I'm thinking about guys like I'm kind of just thinking back to like the WWF and stuff. A
Hmm.
lot of those guys were like, I mean, at the youngest, like I feel like they were late 30s,
Yeah,
right? Am I
they're not
crazy? Like,
young, but the thing is, they started young. It takes a long time to get
uh,
noticed by like something like WWE. Yeah, you're usually
mhm,
not kind of plucked young. You
mhm.
usually have to do something called like work the indies, where you do indie matches all over the
Yeah,
country, sometimes all over the world, depending. But before anyone will even look at you. So
yeah. Okay,
yeah.
that makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking about guys like Eric Bugenhagen and stuff
Uh
coming up
huh.
now, who like I think he's like 30, 33 or 34 or something. Um,
I'm not sure how old he is. But again, he's another one. I mean, like, how could you not want to watch that guy? I mean, I
that
started
dude,
following him before I ever saw him wrestle a match because I was like,
same.
here's a guy who's like doing some like safety bar squats while like shredding on a flying V. Like
Yeah,
yeah, I gotta watch this guy, whatever he does.
I've been following him for years just because he would just make these ridiculous videos and just like scream, and I was like, this
Yeah.
guy is my hero.
And I just think about what it's like for his wife who lives with him.
Oh, his wife's probably awesome.
I just imagine if like my husband were in the basement just yelling at all hours of the day.
Yeah, his wife and his kid must be just amazing.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. Okay, so I really want to touch on like the vegan aspect and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't want to keep you too much longer, but
No, it's okay.
so you went vegan pretty young, right?
Yeah. I went vegan in the dark ages, aka 2005. So
Wow.
I was
Okay.
16. Yeah. Yeah.
So in the times of, I mean, I feel like vegan back then was unheard of. It was all like if you went anything, it was be vegetarian, right?
Yeah. Okay. In my day, I remember that a treat for me was there wasn't a Starbucks in my hometown, but there was one like 2 towns down, and it was one of the few locations that had just started carrying soy milk. So I could get a vegan hot chocolate if my mom was willing to drive me 2 towns down to get a vegan hot chocolate. That was like my
Hell
treat,
yeah.
like
Okay.
Tofurkey reigned supreme. There was no other game in town. Oh, and Two Foodie. And that was it.
hmm
Um,
hmm
so, when I hear people now being like, oh, I couldn't do it, I'm like, if my 16-year-old ass in 2005, who was sustained by like, yeah, I don't know, Taco Bell, could do
hmm
it, then you living in New York City in 2022, like, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. But don't say that you couldn't do it unless it's like,
Yeah.
some kind of a health issue or whatever it is it may be. Um, you know, it's really not
Completely
that hard
agree.
these days.
Completely agree. Okay,
Yeah.
that's so cool to hear that you went vegan so long ago
Yeah.
because I feel like that gives you, it's going to be a really interesting perspective to hear about.
Yeah. It's like it's cool, but it's also in a way it's almost a disadvantage, right? Because like I went vegan at a time when I wasn't thinking about my health. I
hmm
just winged it because I was young. I didn't have to worry about that stuff. So for the
hmm
people who went vegan later and went ahead and did all the research and learned all this stuff, I mean, I didn't do any of that, and I've kind of just been riding that wave ever since. So yeah.
Yeah. So you never really, you probably got like no protein when you were younger, right?
I
Like,
don't know. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. Yeah, I don't know, because I like what the hell was I even eating back then? I mean, yeah, other than like beans, I don't
legumes,
know.
like tofu, maybe?
Yeah, yeah, I did. I would what I would do. We had how long? When did you move to New York? Well, wait, where are you from originally?
I grew up in like Northeast Philly. I
Oh,
moved
okay.
to, yeah, I moved to New York, 2012?
Oh,
2012? Yeah.
okay. All
10
right.
years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'd say because I would go to the city a lot. I grew up on Long Island, and Red Bamboo was like
Red
the thing that
bamboo.
like blew my mind open. I had the chicken parm from there, and I was just like, I mean, I think I was like 15, and I was like,
Yeah.
wow, vegan food's good, And
Red bamboo was around all the way back then. I remember
oh,
Terry.
Red Bamboo has been around since. You know what? I'm gonna find out because I actually just looked this. No, because I looked this up because I went recently with a friend, and it's exactly the same. Like pretty much same menu and everything. And
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I want to say, yeah, since 2002, that's when they opened.
Wow.
So
Oh
yeah, that
shit.
was my
It's a
like,
long time.
yeah, that place, and there was a place in Williamsburg called Food Swings. I don't know if you ever heard
Oh,
of
never
it.
heard of them.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Um, it was this place in Williamsburg that I mean, it was like fast food, like not fast food, but it was like junk
hmm
food. It was comfort food.
Sure.
But when you're like a teenager, that's all you want, right? And
hmm
I couldn't really get that on Long Island. So being vegan at this time, young, I would have to
hmm
go to the city to get anything that was at all remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Maywa around back
Oh
then?
yeah, yeah. So Maewa is
They're
where,
OGs.
yeah, because that's where Food Swings and I think Red Bamboo got their drumsticks from. And
I was just
so,
gonna say every place in New York City, every vegan restaurant in New York City, and like around the nation, I feel like gets so
yeah.
much stuff from
Are
Maywa.
they still around? Or I think they are,
They
but they
changed
changed
their
their
name.
name. Right, right, right. I saw it and I was like, is this Meiwa? I couldn't tell.
Lily's Vegan Pantry.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, they kick ass. I love
yeah,
them.
and then us and all of our like punk house friends would start to just buy stuff from Meiwa and try to
Hmm.
recreate the stuff that we got at the restaurants, and it was never nearly as good. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So I'm curious. You just said okay. So did you get into being vegan because you're into the punk scene back
yeah,
then?
yeah. I mean,
Okay, so
right.
did you listen to a lot of like crust punk bands and stuff? Is that where it came from?
I didn't really listen to a ton of crust punk band stuff, but a lot of my friends did. I was actually thinking about this
Hmm.
because I was like, this is going to be a question. I'm like, what bands were really the ones that turned me on to veganism? I mean, AFI. I was
Hmm.
a big Silverchair fan, who are not a punk band, but the the lead singer is vegan, and he has this
Okay.
really angry vegan anthem called "Spawn Again." Um,
Okay.
but like, I mean, yeah, all of those punk bands like sang a lot about a lot of political stuff, animal rights
Yeah.
certainly
Yeah.
being one of them. Oh, I listen to a lot of hardcore, so like Gorilla Biscuits has a song
Hmm.
about veganism, although I think that maybe some of them are vegan for like a minute. But
Yeah. I was gonna say I didn't know if they were or not.
they have a song called Cats and Dogs, and it's basically just about how like we put cats and dogs on a pedestal and we should treat all
Hmm.
animals the same way.
Hmm.
But yeah, so veganism was a pretty prolific thing that was sung about in a lot of the music that I listened to. And I was vegetarian
Hmm.
before I was vegan. Um,
Yeah. So was
so
I.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I really only ate meat ages 12 to 14. So
What did you grow up eating? Were you
I was the worst,
you weren't
man.
raised vegetarian, were
No,
you?
well, not intentionally. My parents hated it. I was just the pickiest eater, and meat to me
Oh.
was disgusting. I hated the smell of it. I
Hmm.
hated the look of
Hmm.
it. I just did not want to touch it. And
Hmm.
so yeah, no, I pretty much just ate pizza a lot growing up. I'm like, I can't believe I'm alive sometimes. But
It's crazy because
mhm,
like you also managed to get so damn strong, which is a good sign that like if you
yeah,
have the genetics for it and like
right.
you're raised the right way, like playing, you started playing sports early, right? You said?
Yeah, yeah. I was a
I
martial
feel like
artist as
those are
a kid.
two yeah, yeah. So like I mean, and you started that early, so like I feel
Hmm.
like, at least the athletics there really seemed like they carried over. And then I don't know if your parents were strong or not, but actually were they? I'm kind
My
of
my
curious to
mom
hear that.
never worked out a day in her life. My
What?
dad, my dad is like blue collar strong. He's like a heating and
Mm.
air conditioning contractor, so he has like strength
Hmm.
from work. Um,
Hmm.
he rides his bike and stuff, but he never strength trained. But we're a very small family. Both of my parents were
Hmm.
5'3", and
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, like people ask me about food, and I'm always hesitant to answer because I'm like, I'm just gonna sound so dumb. But also, I think that there's something to be said for, and I know not everyone is going to respond this way. Some people really do have to hunker down and do their research, but I
Hmm.
think people get
Hmm.
turned off from trying new things because they're like, I gotta learn all this stuff, and I'm just like, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, maybe you don't though. Maybe you can just try it and see how you
It's
feel.
it's the paralysis by analysis thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right, totally.
Yeah. And that also makes me just think like I think people are also hypercritical of their diets where they think
Hmm.
like, they'll change their diet and then all of a sudden they'll be like, "Oh, I'm getting all these problems. It must be from eating no meat anymore or something."
Hmm.
When in actuality, like these are problems that already existed and they're just, putting them together now.
Yeah,
So like, we all know those people who just like they're all like, "Oh, I can't eat gluten or something because
right.
like I'm gluten intolerant." And it's like,
Hmm.
are you though, or are you just not like are you not exercising? I don't know.
Right.
There might be another reason.
Yeah, yeah,
So I do agree that like I think you can get away with a lot of diet inconsistencies and stuff, and
right. Yeah, I definitely
kind of
think.
being a little lax.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you are exercising too, um, then if you're having problems, then look into it. But yeah, there's
Mm,
just a lot of people who don't, and then blame a lot of stuff on food, and a lot of that is legitimate. I don't want to discount that, but also maybe try moving your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's usually not just one reason, but
Right.
I don't know. People do like to hyper focus on diet specifically. It's kind of
Hmm.
weird.
Yeah. Yeah. But and there's like a lot more research available to people now about how a
Hmm.
plant-based diet, is not going to kill you.
Yeah. But there's still people who think that vegetables are terrible for
I
you,
know.
which
I
is
know.
beyond me. But
Oh, my favorite rumor was about how like soy is going to make you grow boobs.
oh, that was I actually believed that when I was like 20 years old. I
Yeah,
was
I'm
like,
sure you did. I'm like, well, listen, I eat a shit ton of soy and I don't have boobs, and I should. So let me tell you that. Like,
yeah, that's fucking
yeah.
great. Yeah, there was such a huge myth with the soy
Uh-huh.
stuff. It was
Hmm.
I don't even know how that happened to get so big, but
Hmm.
um anyways, so in terms of your um your general diet, I wanted
Hmm.
to kind of talk about that more
Yeah,
and kind
sure.
of delve into a little more of like how you approach it.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I feel like my days start off pretty good. I make a generally for breakfast, I will make a tofu scramble with avocado, which does have pretty good macros. So that's how I kind of start off. It Lunch is going to depend if I'm home or not. I'll probably, if I'm out, I'm going to eat something out. It's usually going to be some kind of like vegan chicken sandwich or pork burger, something like
Hmm.
that. Um,
Hmm.
a staple that I make at home is like the most simple quesadilla in the world because I hate cooking and I don't want to spend a lot of time putting together food. So just
Hmm.
tortilla, vegan cheese, beans, hot sauce, done. Maybe
Hmm.
avocado and sour cream. But and I'll have like two of
Yeah.
those. Um, yeah, I don't know. Burritos, burgers, chicken sandwiches. That's like what I will eat if I'm out. And then I have my couple stable things at home like that.
How much do you eat out usually?
Um, Fairly often, I think. Yeah, fairly often, and I'll usually have like a protein bar a day too, like
Okay.
the Nugo dark chocolate pretzel ones. Have you tried those yet?
I have the Nugo Slim chocolate mint ones.
Okay, those are good. I ate those a lot when I was cutting the Nugo Slim ones.
Yeah.
But I don't have to cut
They have a
anymore, so I
chocolate
can.
pretzel?
It's not a slim one, but yeah, and it's really good. It's got like a red wrapper. Get it next time you're at Whole Foods.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those not all the Nugo ones are vegan, right?
No, not all of them, but this one is. Yeah.
That throws me off. Yeah, I'll have to keep
Uh-huh.
an will for that one.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
sounds so
It'll
good.
say vegan on the wrapper, but yeah, you just gotta look for
Hmm.
that.
So you probably eat out like, I don't know, once a day or something ish?
Not once a day. Once, maybe like once every like maybe like 4 times a week. I will eat out once. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, or like order from out. Yeah.
Hmm. Honestly, like the way you're describing it, it doesn't sound like you eat that bad. I don't know. You made it
No,
sound
it's
like
not
you're
that
like,
bad. It's
oh,
not that bad. I'm just not like an over analyzer about it. Like I'm not.
sure,
That's the thing. I'm not. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm happy
sure.
that my body composition wound up being what it is.
Hmm.
But I never wanted to hyper focus on aesthetics, and that was always kind
Hmm.
of my differentiation. When people would be like, "Oh, well, you're a bodybuilder," I'm like, "No, I'm not." Like for people who don't know anything about strength sport, I'm like, my
Hmm.
objective is to
Hmm.
get strong.
Hmm.
And I'm not trying to shit on bodybuilders, but I know that if I start thinking about that stuff too much, it's a rabbit hole that I can fall down. That can be pretty bad for me mentally, and I don't even want to go there.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
for me, it's healthiest to approach things intuitively,
Yeah.
and like, yeah, just be like, okay, how do I look? How do I feel? Do I feel good about that? Great. I'm not going to
Hmm.
step on the scale excessively. I'm not going to
Hmm.
count numbers. I'm just going to eat when I want to, let it fuel my training, my active lifestyle, whatever it is. And
Hmm.
if I have a problem, address it. But I'm not gonna, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Hyper
weigh
focus
everything
over
I
it.
own. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I actually I love that approach because I don't think everyone can. I don't think it's sustainable for everybody to
Yeah.
try to follow the advice of these fitness gurus.
Mhm.
Who are like, oh, you have to weigh all your food, you have to count all your macros every day. It's just like, I think that works for some people really well. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna lie, like it works for me really well. But
Yeah.
I have my days where I don't track at all because like I've done this for so long, and
Mhm.
like you obviously know like what you're eating too roughly.
Mhm.
You kind of just like get a good idea of like
Yeah.
if you're gonna gain or lose weight based on how much you're eating. You
Yeah.
have like a decent idea,
Mhm.
and I think that some people just can't they can't be that obsessive over it because it can lead to eating disorders,
Mhm.
crazy body dysmorphia, and it's just like not healthy for a lot of people to be that way.
Yeah, I know, and
So I agree.
yeah, totally, and I think, again, because towards the end of my powerlifting career, I did gain weight naturally, right? Like,
Mhm,
I got
mhm.
stronger, I got bigger, and I had to cut so much weight, and it was torture, and I probably didn't
Yeah,
go about it. Yeah.
you said it was like 15 pounds for a
Yeah,
round, right?
I mean, like,
Which is a lot for
it's
you,
a
yeah.
lot, and, I probably didn't go about it the smartest way, but again, my mentality about it was like, I don't know. I don't want to become like an expert on this necessarily. This is like a short term goal, and I just want to be able to do it for the amount of time that I need to do it. And then as soon as I step off that scale, I'm gonna wolf down 3 bagels and like not worry about it,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so, but I know even doing that, I kind of felt like it would have been easy to obsess about like, okay, well, how far away from uh, meet weight am I? And,
Mhm.
when it wouldn't matter, it's like I know how to lose the weight when I need to. So stop worrying about how, meet ready when you don't even have one on the calendar for like 8 months, you know what I mean? Because that just
Yeah,
feels like it's
yeah,
not uh, productive at all. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I really want to just overemphasize that point that like
Hmm.
just doing the big things will get
Hmm.
you like 99% of the way. And
Hmm.
like those little details, those little semantics where it's like, yeah, like you could track all your food every day. You
Hmm.
could like track your weight every day. You could
Hmm.
take all these metrics. That might get you an extra like 1 or 2%. Like seriously, like it's really, you
It's
don't need to go
negligible, you
crazy
think?
with it.
Yeah.
I honestly really do.
Hmm.
I think it's pretty negligible. Like I think if someone has a really hard set goal, then like yeah, I
Hmm.
think it'll help a lot. But
Yeah.
I think it's a give and a take where it's like for some people it'll just lead to like you said like a lot of issues, more issues than it's worth. And like
Hmm.
if you're not somebody who's competing and trying to be at the top of their
Right.
possible genetic limits or whatever
Right.
or whatever. I don't know if it's worth it for most people. So
Yeah.
I agree, and that's why I wanted to hear your perspective on it because
Yeah.
it's different. Because most people are who are really at the top of what they've
Hmm.
done. They are pretty hypercritical of that
Hmm.
stuff,
And there is
and I think
definitely,
you're a good perspective.
yeah. And I think, part of me is like, what if I did hire a nutritionist? Like, what if I did do all that stuff? Where would I have wound up? But, at the end of the day, I don't think it would have been worth the psychological toll that it could have taken on me.
Yeah,
And also at the end of the day, like I left powerlifting not because I was failing. I left it because I wanted to, you know.
yeah, sure,
So,
yeah.
you know. So yeah, I can
Well,
coulda, shoulda, woulda all I want, but at the end of the day, it's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure. Well, I feel like that's a good point to kind of segue into a closing here.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
kind of sounds a little dark, but hey, I think
No,
it
it's
was a
okay.
good closure. Do you feel like we didn't touch on anything else you want to talk about real quick, or
I don't think so. I don't know. Is there anything else
okay?
that you want to
I think
talk about?
we touched on all the lifting stuff. We
Mhm.
touched on all the like your approach to nutrition and everything,
Mhm.
and veganism, and
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to really talk about with you here. I think that's great.
Cool.
Do you want to mention anything about where people could find you or anything that you've done?
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on Instagram and only Instagram at LEAH RAYEX, and yeah, that's it.
Cool. All right, awesome. All right,
Cool.
Leah, good talking to you.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ethics Approach podcast. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, it would mean a ton if you gave the podcast a follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, Stitcher, Player FM, Pinecast, or any other service you're listening to it on, and if you subscribe to the Ethics Fitness YouTube channel, Instagram page, Twitter, and Facebook page. Feel free to check out the articles, training and nutrition programs, coaching services, and merch on athixfitness.com. And if you like what I'm making, dropping a like, commenting, and sharing would mean a ton to me. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.